And I started learning really quickly. And of course, we had our daughter, so I'm going fast here. And our daughter was a major game changer. It became very real.
How old were you when you had your daughter?
I was 19, and he was 23 when we had our daughter.
So
by mistake, it was not planned.
So the failing businesses were happening right when you got
Oh,
pregnant?
when we're boyfriend girlfriend.
Yeah, we
before,
started.
pre and post.
Yeah.
Pre and
Wow.
post. Yeah.
And we've been together for 30 years, man. This is everything I have in life.
So was having a baby at that time a catalyst? Like, fuck, I really got to figure this out.
It became
fast.
serious.
Yeah.
I remember my wife and Priscilla. They were in a used car. Her parents. We lived with her parents for a long time, dude. And they got Sophie and me a car, something they can afford, and it was a Klinger or whatever. It was
no AC.
No AC, and in South Florida, a lot of humidity, a lot of heat. And I'll never forget, I came out of Dixie and Pedro's house. We were living there. Sophie was picking me up for some reason. She was with Priscilla. My daughter, my baby girl, the windows were down and she was in her car seat. She was redder than a heart because it was so hot and she was sweating like galore. For some reason, it was always there, but we were always sweating like that. But for some reason, when I was out looking in, I was just so disappointed with myself, saying, I gotta stop bouncing and I gotta start sticking. And that business, we took off, man. It took off one employee at a time. I almost fell victim so many times to premature expanded, and I didn't. I stayed.
When did you go from selling to starting your own, though? Where was that transition?
Pretty much 6 months.
So 6 months in, you thought, well, shit, I'm a good agent. I might as well start my own thing.
The gentleman retired.
Okay.
His two older sons, they were in their 50s. He was really old. He lived in a neighborhood, which for you guys in California is called Beverly Hills. For us, this was a neighborhood in South Florida. And I used to drop him off because he couldn't see. And I used to dream about, I said, one day I'm gonna buy a home here. I wind up buying 4 homes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Years later.
And I know you obviously used to tell Sophie, and Sophie mentioned this earlier before the interview, that his goal was always $1 billion.
Yeah, once we started, that $1 billion goal started when we opened up this business. He kind of saw the vision and the scale opportunity of this business, and he always said, if we reach $1 billion, I want to exit. And
then I was but then I started learning even another mistake I was doing. I started and I brought my brother in. I said, Eric, 50-50, dude. Don't give me no money. Because I love my brother. He's everything, and vice versa. And he came in, he became our partner, 50-50. We went rocking and rolling. She was a funding coordinator. Barbie, Eric's wife, was the funding coordinator. Eric was in operations and I was in sales. We did that for a number of years, maybe 3 years.
So your family was the executive staff kind of thing?
Yes, us 4.
It was just us 4.
And then we started expanding, bringing on people, but I was always the number 1 salesperson. And I was always responsible for the numbers. And I did that for a number of years in this company.
So you were the CEO and selling?
I was a president.
Yeah.
And that's where I talk about building an enterprise.
Right.
So I wasn't giving the value to the company because it was all about Bobby's potential. If Bobby goes on vacation, number goes down.
Sales go down. Yeah.
And it's not healthy. Then when I started waking up and started listening to people, including my brother, this and that, we started expanding, making others successful, hiring a better Bobby version, started bending, surrendering, duplicating myself. It took off like this Hawaiian wave, and we just kept feeding it, growing it with people, scaling with people, and then it became our customers were our people because our people were talking to our customers, and then we blew up a culture that's unbreakable today.
How many employees did you guys
we exited 6-7 months ago, and when we exited, we're 500 employees.
500 employees. Yeah. But talk to me again. I want to zoom in on the key employees in the beginning, because I think a lot of people get to a phase where they start building a team and then they get hung up at scale, right? It's one thing to be successful yourself. At what point did you remove yourself as actually the person selling and go, okay, from now on, I'm not going to sell anymore. I'm going to focus on training. I mean, take me through what now might be not a big deal to you or so long ago, but take me to an entrepreneur who might be at that position where you're bringing on your first key employees, you're bringing on your sales reps. What do I look for? When do I let them go? Any insights on that?
Yeah. You have to be willing to take a hit on revenue, net income. It will be an interruption Because when you're a dominant force responsible for revenue, and you're the top producer and you're the owner, and you're flying this plane that's 30,000 feet in the air and you have accountability of some employees, overhead, it's such a hard transition to say, I can't lose money. If I lose money, it's going to affect my pocket. That means I'm not going to make $250,000 this year.
Yeah,
I
my
can't
lifestyle, my car payment, whatever.
Be willing to have interruption. Be willing to take that hit and rebuild with better versions of yourself. I didn't do that until about 8 years ago. Just recently, dude.
So being unafraid to pay the best to fill in those positions.
Once we took the hit and we said, you know what? Yes, it's going to be an interruption. There's no question about it. And it wasn't a big interruption. But most of us think it is. It's just a moment in time. So attack the white elephant, that big elephant that's in the room that nobody wants to confront or deal with it because we're just winging it along. But in order to scale, because if you have a business, I don't care what type of business, you want to make sure your efforts that you're doing today, say you're making $1 million a year, it's worth nothing if you can't sell it, if it's not worth nothing to the market.
Right.
So unless that means that you can't be the control freak, you got to let go, you got to bring people in to help you scale and show that this company is scalable without your leadership.
Or your face, yeah.
You know, a lot of people, it's all I, me, I. You can't build a business. You cannot sell a business like I did and Sofia did for $1 billion. You cannot create a $300 million personal net worth. We bought real estate throughout the years when we started making money. I mean, when you start making $10, $20 million a year, it's equivalent to making even $100,000 a year. What do you do with your pennies and your money? And Sofia and I were smart enough to start racking it. We call it stack and rack. Save your money. Rack them into investments when you see value. Then what we did, Omar, another mistake. In 2005, Sofia and I seemed like we were doing quite well for ourselves financially. Man.
We did it, yeah.
We did it, man. We're doing it.
A couple $1 million a year.
2005 is around, everybody was talking about real estate. Just like now. We're in 2020. Everyone thinks they're missing out. I gotta get in. Get me in. That was us. Yeah. Well, we got in, dude. We bought $80 million.
Yeah.
We bought $80 million. We overpaid. We thought they were great deals, like everyone thinks it's a great deal today. You're overpaying.
Yeah.
We overpaid and we over-leveraged ourselves in a very frothy market.
Oh, shit, before the 08, yeah. Shit.
Came crashing down. That business that I lost my attention to and I got distracted with this real estate situation. I neglected my business, and that business bailed us out of that mistake because we started up here. When you start up here, you miss a lot of information. If I knew this information, I would never have bought there.
Yeah, you swung a little wild on the real estate.
I did it. I tried to do what I did years ago, skip the process, and I had no idea we're in the height of the market.
Shit.
That business that we sold for $1 billion saved our rear ends, bailed us out. Never again. Ever again.
Yeah.
We went back in the market in 2011. We had a little coin.
Yeah.
We rebuilt ourselves. I knew a lot more, but I didn't start here. We bought 1 home, 2 homes, 17 homes. Went from 17 homes, okay, we're ready. We have information now. We know more or less the back and forth.
We have
Then
cash
we bought
flow,
a duplex.
momentum. Yeah.
No exaggeration. A triplex, fourplex,
Yeah.
5plex, 6plex, 8plex, 10, 12, so on.
Just steps.
To the point where our last purchase was just, a few months ago, 400 units. Yeah. And we built it, and yes, we're cash flowing, call it $350,000 to $400,000 every single month for me and my family, Sofia, our family. No tax implications.
On top of the business.
On top of all, and forget about the other business. That was a 9-figure net worth we earned, and we earned another 9-figure net worth in real estate. And when we did that, we started small, and we started learning all this stuff. It started compounding. The strength of bona fide information, man, that's powerful. A lot of people right now think that you're missing out. What you're missing out is not getting the information in today's cycle. And if you don't know this process and you're playing that game at the height of the market, you too are going to get damaged. And I see a lot of people over leveraging themselves, thinking they got a deal. So man, we learned so much. And what did good for Sofia and I learning from the big mistakes. The small mistakes, those speed bumps, they're always going to be there.
Right.
The big ones, if you don't repeat them, you can really get rewarded.
Yeah, that episode that we went through in 2005, that it lasted like 2 to 3 years, because the problem was we bought 8 big buildings that were apartment rentals, but they were turning them into condo conversions. I don't know if you guys had that condo conversion steps here. So that process took almost a year and a half. So we were in the market of the worst time of real estate in Florida, around the world. But what we learned in that whole process, we almost went bankrupt. Thank God for BHG, because if it wasn't for BHG,
we talked to a bankruptcy attorney.
We wouldn't have been here today.
Oh, shit.
But we were able to survive it. But what we learned there was, because we had to keep a couple of the buildings that we didn't have to. We would go to the table when we got rid of them. We would go to the closing table with millions of dollars at closing. Instead of getting money in our pockets, we were coming to the closing table. Here, take this junk. Take it. We don't want it. Yeah. Whoever wants it, here you go. But what we learned there was, with the buildings that we stayed with, we started renting them back out. And we were like, and we really didn't know the rental market. We only knew, buy and flip, buy and flip.
Did you guys have property
That's all
managers,
we knew.
or you guys were doing it yourself?
We did our own property management, because we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford it back then. We had to jump in there. I actually jumped in. Me and his brother kind of took over that department, and Bobby went back to BHG to get BHG back up going, because it wasn't doing bad, but it was just steady. It was just not going nowhere. So Bobby jumped back into BHG to get that going again, and me and his brother kind of went into the real estate and tried to get that going so that we wouldn't go into bankrupt. But what we noticed was, like, hold on a minute, we're renting this apartment, and we're able to at least cover the notes that we had debt on these, and high debt. I mean, we went and bought these properties that I don't even remember.
High leverage.
High leverage. So we're like, okay, damn it, wait a minute, we're renting these things, and at least we're covering some of the expenses on the property.
But still in default of your loan covenants.
Yeah, because of the vacancies, we were like, it was
so
crazy.
Basically, we were buying apartment buildings, Omar, renovating them, chopping all of them up into condos, and reselling them as condos, speculation. We decided, after learning from that, we want to hang on to properties forever. We never want to be in that situation again. I'd rather buy an apartment building, conservative leverage, cash flow from day one, and treat it as a legacy. And we never stopped since then. Never stopped since then.
What was the lowest point in whatever, 2006, 7, 8? What was the lowest point financially where you were like, holy shit, I don't know.
When we interviewed a bankruptcy attorney, that becomes very serious. Because we were like saying, there's no way we can get out of this. Yeah. And then we didn't realize how special this company, BHG, is. My gosh, it could probably get us out of this. And sure enough, all along she was there, man. She's always been taking care of us. That's why I'm so freaking emotional about leaving. It's always taking care of us. It's like the angel above looking after us. And it just continues to save us. And, we just went right back in our business. That's where no distractions comes from. Enough, Bobby. Stop getting distracted. I know I'm ADD, HDD, whatever they call me, and I am every bit of it. And I accept it and I love it. But start focusing now.
Yeah, Bobby didn't look at real estate from 2006, I think it was, or 2006, 2007, something like that. He didn't look at real estate until 2011 that I begged him to. Because I was looking at all these foreclosures that I was able to get for $49,000, $29,000. I'm like, please, let's go back in. We had 2 buildings that were giving us, rental income because of the 2006 episode.
And you had built up the cash
but it wasn't really giving us money because we bought it so high and our leverage was so high that we were just trying to come afloat, just cover bills, just the expenses. But in 2011, I begged them, I'm like, please look at this.
And I did look at it. I mean, that's when you talk about communication and relationships. I was so negative with it. I was so obsessed with not getting distracted.
So even though you were actually like learning about real estate, doing this for years, you literally were like, don't talk to me about it.
He didn't want to hear about it.
So it was like literally a rule.
I went back in to rebuild our whole culture, all our partners. We don't call them employees, they're our partners. Went back in, fertilized it, and that's all I'm gonna do is feed my energy to this beautiful business. Sophie, from time to time, hey, this stuff is starting to look really good out there. I would ignore it. And then, of course, good communication. You sit down at the table and I'm saying, okay. And I think even back then, now talking about it, Omar, that's when Sophie and I got really polished, maybe even with our relationship. Because think about all those crises. You know, how many people got divorced in 08, 09, committed suicide? Yeah. It was devastation. I know a lot of young people don't realize that because they were too young. We made it through, man. And if it wasn't for Sophie waking me up to get back into the real estate, be more humble, Bobby, what happened to us was our mistake. It was all us. We're the solutions, the problems, and responsible for outcomes. And it's awesome, man. It's incredible, man. It's incredible when you stick together. When you have a relationship like Sophie and I and anybody, any life partners, man, think about it. We have 4 legs. We have 4 fists. We have a better chance to win the fight together. Yeah. I mean, she's aligned with me. I'm aligned with her. We know our core values. We want the same thing out of life. What better freaking partner can you have?
And you guys have been there from the very beginning together. Yeah.
Day one.
I think your mom gave Bobby like $1,800.
$1,800 from her bra. So
she used to keep everything in her bra.
She's beautiful Latina lady, beautiful Cuban lady, and she had her beeper in there because back then we had those big phones. She had her beeper in there. Yeah. She had notes in there. She had all the savings. There was no bank account, and it was the last money. And I'll never forget it. Dixie pulls it right out and believed in us. And
$1,800. She gave
$1,800
to start the business.
Yep, to start this business with zero in the bank account.
Classified ad.
We didn't even have. We had a typewriter that we bought. Like I don't even know, and a fax machine. That's all we bought to be able to start this business. And we had nothing else. Yeah. No money to pay rent. No money. We lived with my parents, and that's all we had.
Backs were against the wall. You had to make it.
We had to make it.
What did you do differently when you focused on the business? After you guys lost everything, she focused on real estate. What are some things you did different? Because I'm sure anything you were doing when you came back to it, you could have been doing prior, but because you were distracted, you weren't focused on it. So what are some key things, 1 or 2 things that you did?
Loaded up with awesome people.
Period.
Went out, poached them, stole them, overpaid
them, yeah.
And it took off. There's a beautiful person. There's Juan Carlos, incredible. He's like my little brother. He still works for the company. Juan Carlos is from Mexico City. He's a scientist. He has made us so much money. I'm so grateful for my relationship with Juan. Juan, if you're looking at this or listening to this, I love you and Liz. And we also impacted his life. And people like Juan, we loaded up with. And guys, there's many Juans in BHE. I know I'm missing so many beautiful people. And because of you guys, Sophie and I are sitting here. And that's what we did, man. We got better versions of ourselves and started paying attention to how passionate they are. What is their skill set? Started setting up our lineup. Well, he or she's not a good quarterback. Well, one heck of a receiver. You don't want to line up with people that know it all, that want every position. It creates chaos, confusion. Nothing's cascaded down. I became very good at it then, looking at scale. And you'll be surprised when you surround yourself with this quality, they make you better. They make you think differently.
You see things.
You move the needle.
So was there what was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome that you had to actually be like, fuck it, I got to do it? Was it taking the financial hit to pay the best, to be around the best? Was it firing people sooner?
Me.
Okay.
I had to overcome myself.
How so?
Ego's not your amigo. You just don't know it all. You can't be a control freak.